round 4 of the FA Cup is back, and it's no different for the Robins, where Cheltenham Town hosts Manchester City on Saturday, 23rd of January. With it being one of Cheltenham's biggest games in the club's history, we thought we would bring you some analysis on Pep Guardiola's side ahead of the game. Without further ado, Dan, who do you think will feature in goal in Modern Road?
Good question, Bruna. Obviously, Man City have both their keepers back now. I think if Ederson wasn't back from injury, obviously it would definitely be Zach Steffen, but because Ederson is back, it's going to be a toss-up between the two. But however, I do think Zach Steffen will get a nod in this game due to the fact that Ederson, since coming back, is now basically the first choice goalkeeper for the Premier League and Champions League games. So I feel like Guardiola will use Zach Steffen now as his cup goalkeeper.
How good is this Zach Steffen?
Do you know what? It's hard to know exactly how good he is. I mean, he made a bit of a shaky start to his debut for Man City against Chelsea, where he gave away an indirect free kick. But that didn't lead to anything, so he was fine in that regard. He hasn't conceded too many errors in the Man City goal since actually playing the few games he stepped in for. Ederson, he's actually kept 2 clean sheets, including their last FA Cup game against Birmingham City. So he's made quite a solid start. However, these next games in the FA Cup, he's going to have to really put in some really good performances to really impress Guardiola and get him thinking about maybe using him as maybe their number one and really competing for Ederson for the first spot. Right. So let's move on to the defenders now. Obviously, what was the back 4 that played against Birmingham City in the last round, Bruna?
So at left back, we had Mendy. Then the centre-back duo, we had Diaz and Walker. And then as the right back, we had Cancelo. Ahead of Cheltenham, I feel Pep will like to keep his consistency in the back 4. However, I do think that Fernandinho could possibly replace Walker, just because he hasn't had much game time recently. He's currently on 8 games this season. Those are league games, with 5 of those coming off the bench. So I feel like Fernandinho could really benefit from some game time in the fixture.
Who do you think is City's best defender?
In my opinion, and this is not biased at all, just because I'm Portuguese, I really do think Ruben Diaz has settled in quite well in life at Manchester City. He's only 23, and you've got to consider those things as well. And for his age, it's just amazing what he's been able to do recently. He arrived in September. He has become an integral member of the squad, contributed to 7 clean sheets in 14 Premier League games he's featured in so far. Manchester City, who, by the way, have the best defense, conceding only 13 goals in 17 matches. And he also won Player of the Month in November, only a month after joining the club. So, so he's just been amazing, really. And you wouldn't really expect it for someone who's that age. And because not all players are that age, when they come abroad, they don't really settle well as well as he did. So that was a benefit for Pep Guardiola's side for sure.
And are you surprised? Obviously, you know Ruben Diaz quite well because of your expert knowledge in Portuguese football. Are you surprised about how well and how good he is already, and just like the difference he's made to Man City has been massive, and it's probably put them with a really good chance of winning the Premier League this season?
Yes, definitely. Like I said, in Portugal, people didn't really know him much outside of Portugal. But in Portugal, when he was playing at Benfica, he was really good, in defence. And he's just continuing to be that player he was at Benfica. At Manchester City, it's like he never really left the club to play abroad. That's how good it's been. And it's really good for him, to come and play somewhere else, somewhere abroad where you're not really used to the language, the culture. He's done really well, and it can only improve from now on, especially under a really experienced manager that Pep Guardiola is.
Yeah, and obviously with Man City's caliber of player being so world class, because they've spent a lot of money and they've also developed their team really, really well. It's hard to pick a weakness, but if there is one weakness in Man City's back 4 that Cheltenham can try and exploit on the weekend, who would you say it is?
No, you're right there. They've got excellent players all over the field. It's hard to pick one that, could potentially throw everything away. But if I had to pick one, I'd say Benjamin Mendy, just because we have seen a few previous games where he has left space on the wings, and players, their opponents have been able to benefit from that. And if that was to happen again in this fixture, I feel Matty Blair will be looking to exploit those spaces. And yeah, if you're not having a good day, especially now that he's been caught for breaching the COVID rules, you just don't know how he's going to be on the day. And especially, I'd imagine a lot of fans have made their voices heard on social media following that news. So I feel if he's not having a good day, then City could get caught out.
It's all about how that obviously he's not had a great time off the pitch with the whole COVID breaching of the rules. It depends how that's going to affect his mentality and how obviously he is mentally in the game. So obviously Cheltenham could hope, well, not, it's bad to say use that to try and get at him, but or just sort of see where he is at when they're playing the game on Saturday. It's got to be quite interesting to see that battle.
Yeah, you have to exploit one of those weaknesses. If it's there, then you have to go for it. You can't really expect to not do anything about it and potentially throw away a win.
Exactly.
So on to midfield now, Dan. When the draw took place, it was a massive talking point, wasn't it, for all the Robins fans? The possibility of seeing Kevin De Bruyne just strolling along the streets of Cheltenham. Unfortunately, fans will not be able to be in the ground to witness this, but the game will be live on BBC One. What are your thoughts of this?
You can just, like you said there, walking through Cheltenham, but you can just imagine Kevin De Bruyne walking through the promenade. But in all seriousness, obviously it's massive that Cheltenham are going to have a big player like De Bruyne come to town this weekend. I do think De Bruyne will feature in some capacity. I think you have to look at the fact that he did feature in the last round. He started in the last round against Birmingham City, who obviously are lower league competition. And Guardiola is a manager who, like already mentioned, he doesn't make too many changes to his teams. And also he shows a lot of respect to teams. So he will show a lot of respect to Cheltenham for the team they are. So I do feel like we'll see De Bruyne feature in some capacity. I would say he would start, but obviously this is being recorded on Tuesday and he's got a game tomorrow against Aston Villa. So we need to see if he gets an injury or not. And hopefully, fingers crossed, he stays fine and he doesn't get an injury, because that would be annoying if we can't see De Bruyne feature in some capacity.
Yeah, that's what all the Cheltenham fans are excited for, isn't it, really? The main player they're excited to see feature. And if he does feature, who do you think the other duo will be?
So I feel like it's quite nailed on that we'll see Rodri start as a centre defensive midfielder, considering he's not getting a lot of game time in the Premier League starting 11. So I feel like he'll be a guaranteed starter to play a centre defensive midfielder. Alongside De Bruyne, because I feel like De Bruyne will be one of the midfielders that start in the centre of midfield. I feel like it'll be Phil Foden. And then obviously the two wide players, I feel like it'll be Mahrez and Bernardo Silva. But they've got a lot of options. They could play Ferran Torres as one of the wide attackers as well. So that'll be interesting to see what Guardiola does in that midfield selection. Yeah.
And you mentioned Foden there. Obviously City aren't really famous for bringing through young talent, but Foden is an exception to that. How has Pep been able to get the best out of him, do you think?
Do you know what? I think it's been a good mix for Pep between patience, being really patient with a young player like Foden, and just really good management of how to use him as in his best capabilities as a younger player. Obviously, Foden broke onto the scene in the 2017-18 season, where he made his debut for the City first team, and he made quite a few appearances. But obviously, Man City fans were probably concerned with, where's he actually going to get into this team the long-term wise? Because they had, at the time when he broke through, they had the likes of David Silva playing as one in Foden's position. But obviously, with David Silva leaving the club in the 2019-20 season, before that season started, and also the fact that Man City didn't actually reinvest in the midfield area in terms of spend loads of money, loads of millions of pounds they could have thrown at another midfielder, world-class midfielder. I think that just showed that Phil Foden was the long-term plan for Pep. And obviously that relationship between the two is really working well for Man City, considering that in 22 appearances so far this season in all competitions. This is discounting the Aston Villa game, which obviously will make it 23 tomorrow. But he's already got 12 goal contributions, which is amazing for a younger player. And I think we need to remember there are a lot of misconceptions about young players need as much game time as possible. They need to play every game, because a lot of fans love to see their younger players come through from the academies and like play as much as possible. It gives you a sense of pride as a fan, I'd say.
Exactly.
But we have to remember that young players, if you overuse them too much, they can burn out quite quickly, and that can additionally affect their development. So Guardiola has been very careful in trying to embed him into Man City's thinking for the near future, because he's already turning into a world-class player. You can tell already with the stats for such a young player. It's amazing. And I do feel like if everything continues to go well and he keeps adding more goals, more assists to his game, in the next few years, he'll be a Man City first teamer for sure, 100%. He's got so much quality.
I agree, yeah.
So let's move on to the attack now, which is quite an interesting one, because obviously Pep Guardiola is obviously known for playing both a false nine and using an out-and-out striker, but he has to choose which one to go for in this game. Do you think we'll see an out-and-out striker play in this game, or do you feel like we'll see a false nine used by Pep Guardiola with someone like Ferran Torres as the head of the false nine?
Like you said there, Pep does have quite a few options regarding that. So I think, yes, like I said before, I think he will look to keep his consistency, especially, and offer those players who haven't had much game time, which is what Jesus hasn't had recently. His last appearance before the weekend game against Crystal Palace came to on the home draw to West Brom on the 15th of December. And a month later, he featured again. So that shows the inconsistency that Jesus has been having, not featuring regularly. And again, so I feel like he will keep his attack, especially now that we're not sure what's going on with Aguero. We have seen him on the bench recently for games like the 3-1 Chelsea win. He was on the bench. He came on the last few minutes, didn't he? And also for the Carabao Cup, where he wasn't utilised at all. So it could be one of those where he'll either be on the bench or not at all, or he might even, start. But I think that's a bit unlikely, given we're not sure how much he's fully recovered from his injury.
Exactly. And out of the two strikers, I was gonna say out of the players who play false nine as well. But if we look at the two strikers, who out of the two is more likely to cause the most threats to the Cheltenham backline?
Just in terms of experience, I'd have to say Aguero 100%, just because of his off the ball movements, dribbling past the defenders, in going forward. He can cause an upset in any game he features in. Whereas Jesus, who's only 23, has a lot to learn. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but if you compare the two, Aguero can definitely bring something else to the game. Exactly. So, so I'd say Aguero for sure.
And from my perspective, I'd say Aguero's off the ball movements are so dangerous to any team, and obviously he's got such a world-class ability to finish chances off, and he's just so clinical as a striker. Whilst I feel like Jesus doesn't have as much sharpness and clinicality to his game, he doesn't finish all the chances he gets, but that could develop over time, obviously. So obviously I think Aguero would be the more dangerous, but we're probably likely to see Jesus feature in this one, maybe with Aguero coming off for a few minutes. Because
like you said there, the clinicality of Aguero, something that Jesus is still improving on, and something that he perhaps is lacking a bit. He can only improve with time he's given, like with game time he's given. So therefore, I feel like if Pep wants to get the best out of him and make him improve and become a player that Aguero currently is, then he needs to be given those chances. And I feel like that's a good opportunity for the young Brazilian to feature in this game.
I agree.
And now, Dan, on to our predicted 11.
Yes. So, as we've already spoken about already, Guardiola isn't known for making loads of rotation to his teams. So we've stuck with the same formation of the 4-1-4-1 that Guardiola used when Man City beat Birmingham City by 3-0 in the last round. So in goal, we've gone with Zach Steffen, and we've already explained early in the video why we've gone with Zach Steffen. In the back four, right back, we've got Cancelo. The two centre backs, we've got Ruben Diaz and Fernandinho. And a left back, we've got Benjamin Mendy. If we move just ahead of the defence, we've got Rodri sitting as the centre defensive midfielder to protect the back four. And if we move a bit further up into the four in midfield, we've got Mahrez and Bernardo Silva as the two wide players. But like already mentioned, it could be Torres, but we've gone with Mahrez and Bernardo Silva. The two central players, we think it will be De Bruyne and Foden. And up front, we have gone Gabriel Jesus. So yeah, let's go on to the score prediction now, the all-important score prediction, Bruna. What are you predicting for this game?
I'm going to give you two predictions here. So realistically and optimistically. Realistically, I think Manchester City will be too much to handle. And I reckon it could be a comfortable win as a 4. I'm going to be nice to Cheltenham here, a 4-2 win for the for the Blues. But with the magic of the FA Cup, anything can happen. And if Duff's men really put their minds into it and keep the focus throughout the whole 90, then they could cause an upset, and it could be as tight as a 1-0 Robins win. What about you, Dan?
Quite similar in terms of realistic prediction. Obviously, it'd be lovely to see Cheltenham cause the biggest upset in the FA Cup this season. But I feel like if Guardiola's team turn up on the day, they'll have too much for Cheltenham simply because of the quality they have. So I've gone for a 3-1 Man City win. However, like you said, it's the magic of the FA Cup. Anything can happen. So optimistically, I think it'll either be a typical Michael Duff's Cheltenham 1-0 win, which would be amazing. Like, we want to see that.
It might be the same.
Exactly. Or it could be even better, and it could be like a 1-1 draw after extra time, and hopefully on penalties, Cheltenham can beat Man City. I mean, what a story that would be, when it beating Man City on penalties.
Wow, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
And that's all we have time for today. That's a squad preview for Cheltenham Manchester City, where fans can watch live on BBC One at 5 on Saturday, this Saturday coming. But additionally, you can purchase your virtual ticket through the club's website for this momentous occasion and help the club out financially. And let's hope the Robins can cause an upset from against former Premier League champions Manchester City.
Come on, Cheltenham!
Let's go, Cheltenham!